You ever get that feeling when you're scrolling through all your different apps and they all kind of start to blur together? Well, you are not imagining it. Today, we're going to dig into this really powerful piece by a writer and developer at Rocky Essel. He's got this idea that the web isn't dying, not at all, but it is collapsing in on itself. And boom, that's the core idea right there. He kicks things off with this line that it makes you stop and think, right? He's saying there's this huge but kind of subtle shift happening right under our noses. It's not that the web is disappearing, it's that everything is starting to look and feel, well, exactly the same. Okay, so to really get why this is happening now, we've got to rewind a bit. Let's look at how things used to be. The author takes us back to what he calls a much healthier time for the web, a time when the roles were super clear. And this right here, this was the deal. The author calls it the invisible handshake. It was pretty simple, really. You had big tech on one side, and they built the foundation, all the boring but essential stuff, the servers, the APIs, the plumbing. And on the other side, you had developers. They were the ones building the cool stuff, the actual products and experiences that we all loved to use. It just worked. It was a balanced, predictable partnership. And honestly, the author argues this was the golden age. This was the healthiest the web has ever been. The boundaries were clear, the opportunities felt endless. The big guys provided the service, they weren't your competition. But as you can guess, that was all about to change, dramatically. So what was the tipping point? One thing, AI. This is where that old handshake, that old deal just completely fell apart, and the whole balance of power, it started to shift in a massive way. And at first, it was incredible, right? A total explosion of creativity. OpenAI drops its API, and suddenly developers all over the world are building these amazing new tools. Chatbots, assistants, you name it. It felt like a new dawn. But then came the shift. The platform itself, the very foundation they were building on, started to watch. It started to learn. And it started to pull the best ideas right back into its own core product. And that brings us to the absolute heart of the author's argument. He calls this new reality the era of absorption. So what does that even mean, the absorption era? Well, think about it like this. The very companies that provide the tools for you to build something cool are now also your biggest competitors. If your new app or tool takes off, you're not just celebrating. You're also sending up a flare, proving that there's a market for your idea. And the platform sees that flare, and they can just step in and build it themselves. They have more money, more engineers, and a direct line to millions of users. Game over. And here's the playbook. It's almost become a script. Step 1. A small startup comes up with a great idea, like those chat with your PDF tools that popped up everywhere. Step 2. People love it. It gets traction, it proves there's real demand. And then, step 3, the big platform just builds that exact feature into its own product. Suddenly, that entire category of startups becomes redundant. Just poof, gone overnight. For the big platform, it's evolution. But if you're the startup, it feels a lot more like extinction. And this is what's so wild. How can these massive companies move so fast? Well, as the author says, they're not just giants anymore. They're giants who move like startups. They've totally changed how they work internally. They're acting like small, agile teams, but with the billion-dollar war chests of a tech giant. And that combination is what makes this so new and, frankly, so terrifying for anyone trying to build something on their own. Okay, so this whole absorption thing we've been talking about with AI, it's not just about AI. According to the author, it's just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. We're seeing this great blurring, this kind of collapse into sameness happening absolutely everywhere online. I mean, just look at this. It's almost comical, isn't it? Every app is trying to be every other app. X, formerly Twitter, now has long posts and live video. Instagram, which was for photos, is now all about short videos, just like TikTok. YouTube has shorts. WhatsApp is turning into a marketplace. The unique reasons we used each app, those edges are just getting sanded down. So, do you ever find yourself just staring at your phone, totally confused about which app to open to do, well, anything? That's the point. The author says all this blending doesn't actually give us more choice. It just creates confusion. It creates paralysis. And this isn't just about social media. It's happening with the tools we use to create things. It used to be simple. Figma was for design. Webflow was for building websites. Now, every tool is a generator. Figma spits out code. Canva, the tool for making simple graphics, can now generate a whole website for you.
Every single tool is trying to become an all-in-one ecosystem, and they're all starting to look the same.
So where does this leave the little guy, the independent developer, the creator with a new idea? Well, it puts them in a really, really tough spot, an almost impossible dilemma, actually. And this is the ultimate catch-22 of the modern web. Option 1. You build in public, you share your progress, you get feedback, you build a community. But the whole time, you're a flashing beacon for big tech to come and absorb your idea. Option 2. You build in secret, you protect your idea, but then you launch to an audience of 0, crickets. It's a lose-lose situation, and there's no clear path forward. So, what's the answer? What are developers supposed to do? You hear a lot of advice floating around. Like, find a niche, right? Find a tiny little market that the big guys would never bother with. Yeah, but what happens when you do a good job? What happens when that tiny market starts to grow and look kind of profitable? You're right back where you started. You're on their radar. And this leads us to the author's only real piece of advice, and it's a little bit bleak. He basically says, don't get too attached. If your digital thing actually works, if you manage to make some real money, take that money and move it offline. Buy a house, start a physical business. Turn your digital success into something real, something tangible that can't be copied and pasted into a platform update overnight.
And that really is the final powerful takeaway here. It's not the death of innovation. I mean, things are moving faster than ever. No, the author says this is the death of difference. In this crazy race for every platform to absorb every feature, we're losing the quirks, the weird edges, the very things that made the web so exciting and diverse in the first place. And it leaves us with a pretty heavy question. What does the future of the web even look like when everything and everyone is basically the same?